Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Creating in Fortnite. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am your host, Dan Hutnick, and here I am joined by some of the lovely folks that have worked on the new Star Wars toolset. And without further ado, let's jump in and get them introduced. How are you doing, Isaac?
Oh, fine, thanks. My name is Isaac Oster. I'm a senior technical artist here at Epic. I work on the UAFN IP team, and I led the environment team on the Star Wars toolkit or toolset.
Very good, very good. Awesome, awesome. Next, we have Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicky Thompson. I'm the design director of the UEFN IP team at Epic. I've gotten to work across all of our different IP collaborations in UEFN, which I've absolutely loved doing. But Star Wars has been really awesome, and I can't wait for us to dig into a little bit of that.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. And last, but certainly not least, we have Aiden. How you doing, Aiden?
Hello, I'm doing great. My name is Aiden McDew. I'm the engineering lead on the IP team and a few other initiatives that we have going around. You've probably seen me if you're in the Discord. I'm a fencer in the Discord, trying to answer as many questions as I can, helping you guys out. I'm super excited to be here and share the awesome tools we have with you. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Dan.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and join us today. I'm personally really excited for this because we're combining two of my favorite things. So I'm very excited to jump in. Before we get into it, though, for those of you who are tuning in live, and you have any questions about the Star Wars toolset for the team, please leave that question in chat with brackets. Question in between brackets at the start of your message, and we will gather them throughout and do our best to raise as many as we can for the guests towards the end of the stream. We've got a few experts who are focused on the Star Wars tools with us today, so please try to keep your questions related to those because that's what we're here to talk about. And if you have any other questions for UEFN, please head over to the forums on the EDC. There's plenty of resources there to tackle those. So with that out of the way, I am excited to jump into this. For those who may not be aware of this, what are we working with today? What are we talking about? What is the Star Wars toolset?
Oh yeah, I can take that one. So for Star Wars, we had a mission to kind of deliver the ultimate Star Wars toy box. We used that a lot internally when we were talking about what we wanted to do here, and we knew a lot of people would be really excited about this one because obviously Fortnite has done a lot with Star Wars in the past. There's quite a long history there through all of the limited time modes and the awesome mini season last year. So when we got to do this on the IP team, we were really excited because we had this amazing base to build from, and we knew people would really want all of that. So we tried to give you all of that. And we knew that would be amazing in and of itself, but we wanted to really build on that to deliver that like ultimate Star Wars toy box and help you build your dream Star Wars games. So we brought back all of the blasters, all of the lightsabers, with a lot more customization this time. The vehicles from last year as well, but even more vehicles this time. Some things we're going to look at later include like the biomes and the environments from Star Wars, which are some of my personal favorites from the whole kit, and which are really lovely. So many props, galleries, UI, music, heroes. There's like really a lot in this one. It's definitely the biggest tool set we've ever done. So we'll look at a small amount of it today, but yeah, if whether you've tried building stuff with it already or whether you're going to dive in soon, I really hope that you do have a good time building with it because we had a really good time building it. So yeah, please enjoy.
Perfect. Well, we have a lot that we are here to cover today. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Isaac, you have some cool stuff to show us. Are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, definitely. Will you share my screen?
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So in addition to the environment stuff, I also set up the cinematic vehicles. And I wanted to kind of walk through the process of how you can create your own cinematic animations. And then I thought it'd be fun to kind of set up a little bit of gameplay around like an event that would then kick off an animation. So I'm going to show you a little video. This is basically what we're going to build. And then there might be a couple extra things we might sprinkle in. But this is the gist of it. So we're going to spawn in. We're going to fight some stormtroopers.
I love it.
The sandcrawler door is going to open up. My cat's going to be in the way. And yeah, so that's the idea. So let's start from a fresh project. Here we go. So this is just UEFN Live. I'm going to Actually kick my cat out 1 second. I think she's gonna find a spot. She's good.
No, yeah. We
all right.
all have supervisors.
Yeah.
This one's mine. So
she wants to make sure I'm holding it down. All
yeah,
right.
exactly.
So we're just gonna create a Star Wars grid, which is basically kind of just a blank here. I'm gonna go ahead and call this one demo. Once we load in here.
Well, this is loading in.
Yeah,
I wanted to say really quick, Vicky earlier called this the ultimate Star Wars toy box. And I will say when we were in our design meetings a long time ago and she started to use that phrase, I got really jealous because whoever introduces a subject first gets to say it. And it's just such a satisfying thing to say in a meeting, like, we're going to deliver the ultimate Star Wars toy box. And so now I'll try to like jump out in front of her sometimes when we're introducing it so I get to say it just because it's a reality of what we're providing here. And we're gonna jump into the tools and everything. It's just I'm so excited by what we have to provide, and I think we're gonna blow you guys away with everything that we've done.
You just got to be the hype man. Right after she says it, you repeat it.
All right. So new level here. I'm just going to drop a player spawner in. And we're going to do an item spawner. Oops, spelling. Item spawner. There we go. And I'm going to set the time before first spawn to 0 because I just kind of want this thing to, show up immediately. For the item list, let's go. We'll just do a lightsaber. I think I'm going to pick Kylo's lightsaber. Okay, and I'm going to turn on run over or pickup just to make it a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and save everything. Let me see. I'm going to create an NPC spawner for our stormtroopers. Monkey down right over there. And we're going to go to our NPC character definition here in the details panel. And we're going to create a new NPC character definition. I'm going to call this NPC Stormtrooper. And we can navigate over to it and make a new folder, keep things nice and organized.
Good to do early on.
Oh, yeah.
Never been guilty of that.
All right, let's open it up. So we're going to set the type to guard. Let's see, we've got our team. We're going to set that to 2 so that it will fight the player by default. Where is the appearance? Check my cheat sheet here. Oh, yeah. We got to add another down here. Got inventory. For the inventory, we are going to add a blaster. We'll do the E11, a classic. And then somewhere in here, I missed it, is where the
cosmetics in the third index there. It's right above your inventory. A little lower.
Yeah.
There we go. You're right there. Expand it. There we go.
Thank you. All right. I will just type Stormtrooper. We'll go for the classic, the Imperial Stormtrooper.
Well, 1 second there, Isaac. We said this is the ultimate toy box, right? What if I wanted to use more than the Stormtrooper? What are some of my options here we could use?
All right. Let's see. Let's just navigate over to where this guy is.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of characters.
I mean, it just goes on and on, right?
Wow.
Get a good look at those.
Cool. All right.
Love it.
Okay, let's go back to the Stormtrooper. We've got our NPCs selected, or the NPC character definition. I feel like it should update. Maybe it's kind of one of those things. You just got to wait for a second. Right. All right, well, he looks right. Okay. Moving on. Oh, yeah, let's see. We're going to do the spawn count. I want to do 3 of these. Oh, there's one other incredibly important thing. I'm not good at this game. So I'm going to make these guys a little less spicy. Okay, let's see. All right. So we're going to spawn 3 of these guys. I'm going to like run through a bunch of stuff because it kind of takes a while to, pipe it over to a live session. Okay, now let's go back to the Star Wars content. I'm going to go to galleries, vehicle, Star Wars vehicle gallery. Look at all of these awesome vehicles. These are the cinematic vehicles. So there were versions of some of these, the TIE Fighter, the N1, and the X-Wing that are pilotable, but these are all in the realm of essentially static props. All right, so let's grab the sandcrawler and we'll just put it right there. Give it a little rotation. And what I want to do is over here in the details panel, I'm going to scroll down a bit till we get to the door. You can see the door's rotation on Z is set to -65. So if I set that to 0, we're just going to close that door. All right, cool. Let's see. Now, and go back to our project demo. Kind of wish I'd picked a better name. All right, we're going to make a new folder now. I'm going to call this one Cinematics. I'm going to create a level sequence. This is right click there. Level sequence, ls, open, sand, crawler door. And let's go find the sand crawler. We can drag it in. And you can do this with all of the cinematic vehicles. I'm going to hit a plus there. I'm going to find the component that I want to animate. We'll add it. I'm going to hit this plus there. And we want to add a transform track. And within the transform track, we're going to have location, rotation, and scale. I'm going to go ahead and key X at the 0 here, the 0 frame, just by pushing this little button with the square with the plus in it. And then let's say it's going to take 3 seconds. You can see we've got 30 FPS. Those 3 seconds to open the door. And we'll go ahead and set this. I think it was like -65. Oops, wrong axis. Let's try that again. Which one do you think it is? Pitch? Yeah, okay, there we go. So I'm going to go back to the first frame. We'll set that key. Extra keyframes don't really matter, but it can be confusing. So we'll just get rid of those. All right.
Those Jawas almost had to hire Jawas to fix their
Oops, wrong direction. All right, cool. 65. All right, so there you go, right? So as this animation is playing, one thing that's sort of nice to know if you're not super familiar with this animation stuff is if you click this little button here, you can get a graph of what that movement looks like. So by default, it's going to have this ease in and ease out. If for some reason that doesn't make sense, like if you've got a camera that you're following and you don't want the camera to kind of like start slower than it's ultimately going to be, you can just right click on the frame and set it to linear, and you'll get a nice straight line there. But if you set it to auto, it'll go back to the nice ease in and out, which is what we're looking for here. I'm going to save the sequencer. Let's see. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to add a device that'll allow us to kind of manage when this level sequence begins and ends, or starts anyway. We're going to go to Fortnite, and this one is called a level sequence device. I wrote it down. By sequence. There we go. Cinematic sequence device. Cool. So we'll just kind of plunk this thing over here. So this is going to want to know, first of all, what is the level sequence that it should be paying attention to. Drop it in like that. We don't want it to autoplay, right? This would be like when as soon as the game starts, it's going to run. We want to set this up on an event, right? So okay. Right, we're going to add another device called a trigger. Here we go. So in the trigger device, let's see, we want to transmit every X trigger. So basically what's going to happen is every time I kill a stormtrooper, this thing is going to like put a little check mark, right? So this, you could set this to be 10 and then you have to kill 10 stormtroopers or whatever, right? So, but I want to make sure that it doesn't kick off after I kill the first guy. So we'll set this to 3. And then I think there's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, one more setting on the NPC spawner. So we've got the spawn count. I think that's all right. I think that's all right. Okay, so we're going to trigger this level sequence when this guy has the count that he's happy with. So click on this. We're going to go down here to play function. We're going to hit plus. I'm going to use the eyedropper to pick the trigger, and then we can select on triggered. Go ahead and file, then save all. Is this looking good so far? All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and launch a session, just kind of confirm everything is working as expected. Talk amongst yourselves.
I just love how simple that was to set up. That's one of the things that always stands out to me when I see these demos put together and stuff like that, is just how easy that was, right? And how intuitive. It's like, hey, it's a trigger. Trigger does a thing. It triggers an event when a certain criteria is met. So we set the criteria. We use the eyedropper to connect the thing, and we're good. We can jump in and play it.
I think I forgot to set something up.
No.
So yeah, we need to add an event that's going to trigger it. So I'm going to click over here and click on the NPC, and then on eliminated. So what's happening is, yes, like every time I kill a stormtrooper, the NPC is going to broadcast out, "Hey, we killed somebody." The trigger is listening for that and keeping track, like the guy at the door. And when the trigger gets 3, eliminated signals, then it's going to trigger the level sequence to play. So we're going to have to sit through a little bit of an update here, but no big deal.
So Isaac, though, why did we provide the cinematic vehicles? What was the thought process behind doing that as well as the drivable vehicles? What do we get out of that?
The ability to tell stories in UEFN, right? Like the thing that is so powerful and exciting to me as a Star Wars fan is you kind of have control over the Millennium Falcon, right? Not kind of, you do, right? You can do all kinds of interesting things. It's not like you can't open it up and run inside, but I wonder if I've got a session that's like, yeah, there we go. Oh, I'm getting executed. Hold on. Let's see. We're probably gonna have to, and I'm just gonna push the changes because I know that's not gonna work. So I'll show you guys something in a second, which is well, actually, it's I guess a pretty good time. Let's see. So while we're uploading the content, I put together a demo video of some of the cinematic vehicle stuff. Mostly, like I was just kicking the tires. I like that. Are there tires in Star Wars? Let's see.
Kicking the tread.
Kicking the thrusters. All right.
There you go.
So here's the video. So this is like the, hey, this is kind of a very high level review. This is actually the X-wing here. So I'll open this level momentarily, but here are all of the features kind of working in unison, a little more complex than the Sandcrawler, but the exact same idea, right? There's nothing here that's any different than like, hey, we're just animating transforms, not limited to things on Tatooine, Tatooine inspired. And then the next one is, well, here's the Sandcrawler, but the next one is, I think, indicative of the kind of storytelling you have access to, right? So there's 4 splines. All the Canyon Rock stuff came from, it's available now. The VFX are all available. It's, in terms of injecting the element of storytelling into your gameplay, for Star Wars, you got to have it. You just got to have it. So really, really exciting. I'm delighted that we are able to provide this. And I was actually like making like pew pew noises as I was playing with it. All right, let's see. Okay, let's see. Here's my thing. Can I turn it on? Let me get you. Oh, oops! Look at that. We'll just restart it. And one thing that it does is if you there's probably some way around this, but if you if you kill one stormtrooper and then you die and you restart in the same game, the trigger is sort of still set that you've got one. So I didn't get quite far enough to. Right. And then, yay, there it goes. Oh, they keep spawning.
And the simple solve for that would be to have some other sort of script that says, hey, once
I'm positive
you're
there's logic in
eliminated,
there that, yeah, where you
you
could be
can
like,
reset
yeah.
the counter and all that. Yeah.
I just don't know how to do it. Okay, so there's another setting I need to turn on for the NPC spawner, which is I really only want it to spawn like one session. I think turn that off. I can't remember. Oh, maybe it's allow infinite spawn. We'll find out. There were like I tried to write all the notes down for all the settings, but like I clearly I may miss one. If anybody knows, feel free to shout out the answer. Okay. So now the next thing I want to do is I actually want to add a camera to the level sequence. So we're going to head over to demo. We're going to open up the level sequence. And to create a camera, all I need to do is click this icon here that looks like a camera. This is going to be a cinematic camera actor. And I'm going to add one more thing. Come up here to my way to add things to the project. I'm sure there's an official name for it. Go to cinematic, and then we're going to add a camera rig rail. So right now I'm looking through my cinematic camera because I've got this little icon enabled. If I turn that off, I'm going to go back to my regular camera, which can be a little bit of easier to work with. And I'm just going to kind of, we'll just create some kind of a path for our camera to move along. And what I've done is I've just selected the other spline, and I'm going to just pull it out. So you can add more splines if you hold the Alt button. And if you rotate it, it's going to act kind of like a Bezier curve, right? But I'm not going to worry about getting too fancy with the splines at this point. I can kind of show you what the spline looked like for the canyon run. And it definitely gets like tweaky and noodly and not that much fun to watch pretty quickly. All right, the final thing I'm going to add for this is going to be a sphere. And I'm going to find out what the transform is on the sphere. And then we'll just paste it in there. And I'm going to set the visibility on the sphere to not visible. I'm going to rename the sphere. This SM camera target. And then on my camera actor, we're going to go to the look at tracking settings. I'm going to enable look at tracking. And then for the actor to track, we can go find that camera target. So the cool thing about this is like you could get a little bit fancy with your spline tracks so long as what the camera is looking at is relatively stable. You can also have the camera follow your spline track, but you get that like I don't know, it's makes motion sickness, right? So you want to keep it as simple as possible, or you want to lock what the camera's looking at to something that's also not going crazy. So you could totally animate the position of the sphere if you want, right? So if like you want the camera to look up slowly while it's panning around something, those kind of animations are super simple. You just drag wherever it went, you just drag it in here and then add a transform if it doesn't already have one, and yeah, good to go. Okay, anyway, I don't really want it sitting like at the wheelbase there. So let me stretch this out so we can see what's going on. So I'm just going to kind of raise this up so we're looking kind of in the middle of it. All right, that should be fine. For the camera, we want to zero out the transforms. Oh, the rotation's locked now because it's looking at the thing. But it's going to basically be sitting right on that rail unless you've got transform data, and then it's going to treat its position on the rail as like it's 0, 0, 0, and it's going to be offset in some crazy spot. So you just want to kind of zero the transforms. All right, now we're going to go to the camera, in a camera actor. I'm going to hit this little plus sign, and we're going to hit attach. And what we want to attach it to is the Cine camera. Sorry. Oh, I didn't put the spline mesh in. Camera grill. This has to go in. Oop. I said spline mesh. I did not mean spline mesh. All right, so now the camera rig rail is also included in the level sequence. So we have a camera rig rail, and the target actor. The target actor, in this case, I'm not going to animate it, so I'm not going to add it to the level sequence. Now, go back over to the cine camera actor, hit attach, and now we can throw it on the camera rig rail. I'm going to add current position on rail. We'll go to the 0 frame. I'm going to key it at 0. And then we'll go to the last frame and I will key this at 1. Now, if I select it, I should get a little square pop up. You can look through the whole thing if you want. You can also hit this button here. You can see the rail is actually in the way of the camera. So in this scenario, you can hit the G key to go into game mode, or you can just turn off the show rail visualization, or you can go to the camera actor itself, go to the transform, go to location, and then just like bump it up 100 units or something, right? So it won't render, right? It's like a whatever, like a editor only. All right, so if I scrub here, that's kind of the animation we're getting, but I want to be a little wider framed. Right now we're kind of zoomed in. So with the camera selected, send a camera actor, I'm going to scroll down the focal length. I'm going to set this to 15. Right? Okay. So now I kind of have a better understanding of what I'm looking at. Obviously, I don't really want the top of this to be chopped off. So I'm just going to go to the camera rig rail, and then in UEFN up is the y-axis. And I'm just going to raise the camera rig rail a little bit, and then I'm going to go to the camera target, and we're going to raise that up as well. Okay, so let's see how we looking. It'd be nice if we could see the whole thing. I'll try not to get too noodly about this. Let me select my camera rail. So one of the nice things about it is when you've got the camera rig rail selected, you actually get the little preview screen, so you can see like where we're kind of calling it, and you can also see the camera zipping back and forth there, which is cool. But what I'm going to do is give it a little rotate. We'll pull back a notch or two. Let's see, how's that? Really want to see the landing. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's looking good. So this will automatically take control away from, or takes the camera away from the player when this thing goes off. Not a terrible idea to deactivate the player controller just temporarily while it's happening. If you want to do that, that's going to be down here somewhere. I believe. I thought it was on the cinematic. Perhaps not. Visibility. Oh well. There we go. Disable player input. So, if you're like running, I guess it'll stop the run. Okay. So this is probably a reasonable point to push our changes.
Isaac, I want to warn you. I'm going to make a ton of feature requests right after you finish this demo, right?
I've already
Sounds
got a
good.
couple. Yeah.
I just can't wait to see what players do with this stuff.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see fan content. I mean, you were already showing those awesome demo cinematics with the vehicles. I love that canyon one with all the X-wings and TIE fighters flying through.
The
this
one
also
that clipped the ground a little bit there is a fun little detail. Love that.
Thanks for noticing.
I really love those. And you can do some really fun stuff with the characters as well. I don't think we've spoken about those too much today, but we put in lots of new character animations as well. And so it's really quite the complete package for any story that you would want to tell. Sorry, I was trying to kill some time for you as it was loading. I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna, I'll have a tummy ache or something on the day that all this stuff launches, just so I can sit and, like watch all the videos on YouTube of people playing these games. I'm really, really excited to see what folks
tummy
do.
ache.
Yeah. Oh, can't come to work today, guys. I'm gonna be, glued to my UEFN
Pro
feed.
tip.
Okay.
Everyone watching the stream, don't perjure yourself to your boss on a live stream.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, well, where's everybody else?
Oh.
interesting. Yeah, see, I think there's some change with the NPC that I don't fully understand the NPC spawner where I turned off something about the infinite spawn. I'm just gonna let them keep spawning for now. I think that's all right. Oh, I think this is what it is. My bad. Oop. I knew there were two places I need to change that value. Okay, cool. Let's kill some more time.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What are you folks looking like? Obviously, there's so many different ways that this could be taken, right? There's so many ways these tools can be utilized. What is something specific that you're really hoping to see the community do with these tools? Any specific experience, any specific storytelling, medium, anything like that you're like, I can't wait to see that.
I'm biased, but I really want to see storytelling. I feel like, there's a very well understood vector for gameplay with all the tools and the devices and the weapons and all that kind of stuff. But I think that there's space with this toolset that opens up new avenues of expression with this tool. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I'm excited to see what people do.
I would really love to see sort of a survival game based on Hoth. That's a really clear sort of, I don't know, design I had in my head right back at the start of the project. Like, what would people build with this? I just think it would be really fun. I've never really seen that kind of thing done in UEFN unless it does exist. And like, please send me something. I'd love to see it. But yeah, survival on Hoth, building up a shelter, just balancing some like hunger stats, some cold stats, and seeing what kind of trouble you get into over on Hoth. I just think that would be really fun. I'd love to see that, along with everything you guys make. Though I can't wait to see what you make.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see if we can get this to work now. And of course, I'm going to be right under the door.
Hey,
Cool.
beautiful.
All right, and an important setting.
So
All right.
Isaac, I'm going to use a chance to teach you something here. You don't need
Please
to
do.
launch session every time you make a change. You can use live edit. So if you just end the game and restart it, should pick up the changes.
Really?
Should. Yeah.
Okay, let's find out. Cool. All right, so what I need to do, the default behavior with the level sequence is it will return to the prior state when the sequence has ended. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to locate the sand crawler here. I'm going to right click on transform and we're going to go to edit section. And then we want to set to the when finished to keep state. So this will preserve wherever it was at the end. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's try let's try
live edit. It works with devices. You did change the cinematic setting, so I'm not sure it'll work, but let's go try it. It's quick,
just end game, start game.
End game, start a game, and let's see what it does.
All right, cool.
And while you're doing that, we'll see if it works first before I talk about what I want to see from people.
Yeah, we can't leave you out.
Also, Isaac, if you block, you can do a forward roll, which is faster than running, which is pretty cool.
Got to see it.
And block with then space bar, you'll do a roll.
Oh, look at that.
There we go.
I can't think of something to be more terrifying as a stormtrooper than somebody just perpetually rolling towards you with a lightsaber.
Did it work? Okay,
No,
it does need to use push
right,
changes. You can push changes. Well, Isaac pushes changes there. So I'm pretty excited personally. There's like I think it's a writing trope or a film trope we do back on the farm, where you're telling an A story and a B story. And I'm really excited to not that these stories are B tier stories, but I'm excited for everyone to do their version of like the back on the farm. What was happening on Coruscant while Obi-Wan was fighting on Anakin on Mustafar, right? What was going back over there? What was happening over here? Well, I want to know all those stories. I want to know your Star Wars stories for what's happening elsewhere in the galaxy while other events were happening. I want to see what players think. I want to see their lore. I want to see headcanon come to life. I just want to see all that stuff be just made real, and I think we've provided a lot of the tools that will help enable that, so people can make their own stories pop out.
Really like that. That's another thing we spoke about really early on, just the idea of just like normal jobs, like what's a normal person in the Star Wars world, and what would it be like to play as them? I've always found that kind of thing quite fascinating.
I can't wait to see all the stuff that's like extremely faithful, like you're saying, and I also
Yeah.
can't wait to see the stuff that like I just can't even imagine yet. Like the creativity where somebody's going to take these tools and do something that I put me in a room for 1,000 years and I wouldn't have come up with, because they always do. They're always extremely creative. Like, I don't know, like a backrooms Star Wars thing would be really fun and wild.
And to go with the backrooms in Star Wars, the idea we've always floated is Moisture Farmer Tycoon. I know, see, backrooms would be exhilarating and fun, and
Yes.
Moisture Farmer Tycoon would be the opposite of that. So you could de-stress with one and then go back into the other.
I feel like that's the kind of thing where you start as the moisture farmer and then just get sucked into the back rooms, just completely subvert your expectations.
That would be terrifying. I also want to see a Tauntaun plant, just to throw that out there as well.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Hey!
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Easy. All right. The next trick, I want to add a little surprise inside the. Oh, actually, we're doing VFX. Let's do some VFX, and then we'll add the surprise. Okay. So we're gonna do content browser, Star Wars content, VFX, vehicles, and what I'm looking for here is called ground wash. So I'm actually going to scrub the moment where we get a little impact. Imagine if we were on, a sandier spot. I'm going to grab the ground wash, position it where I want it, something along those lines. We're going to drag it into the sequencer. We're going to select the Niagara component. That's where we can control the behavior of our system. And then we're going to add an FX system toggle track. I just want this to kind of like turn on, turn off. So we're going to activate it here and deactivate it there. It'll automatically add the key in there. Let's see. We go back to the 0 frame. It should. Oh, we want to turn off auto activate.
I don't animate much, so just watching how easy it is to do this stuff just blows me away.
All right. Let's see. Boop. All right. Isn't that nice? Right. Okay. So that's going to be fine. We'll check that in a second. Probably going to be fine. But before we do the whole loop, let's add a little surprise for the player inside our sandcrawler. I'm going to create a volume, and volumes are good for creating events that happen when the player moves through a certain spot. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to spawn a bad guy. Actually, I think I need to do this over here. Let's see, 0.5, no, 2. I really only care like when the player enters. So, and because I'm the player, I can make sure I run through the middle. All right, so we've got our little volume there. I'm going to create another NPC spawner. Put you right there for now. I'm going to create a new definition. We call this one NPC Palpatine. Open him up. Okay, look at that. That's really convenient. Palpatine. We're going to go for Emperor Palpatine. I'm going to set here's the team. It's always like something I can't find. Oh yeah, I got to make him a guard. And if this isn't right, please feel free to jump in and health, shield, team modifier. There we go. Now he's on the other team. That's all I'm going to do on the setup there. Oh, you know what? This happened last time. Isn't it interesting? That's clearly not Palpatine. Try that one more time. I don't know if I need, do you guys know if I need to give him a lightsaber? I think I do. Do that in a second. All right, here's the cosmetic modifier.
Yeah, you'll be able to add a modifier in there.
Yeah.
And so we don't actually have Palpatine's lightsaber, but I've been giving him the Sith one, just the general Sith training one. Yeah, it's a good option.
That will work. All right, and that's inventory, right? Got one more. I think I added that to the wrong spot. What am I doing wrong? Oh, NPC. Why don't I see a third index? Somebody help me. So if I go to modifiers, I should be able to hit plus here and get an inventory modifier, right?
You should be able to. Sorry, I'm slightly behind on your stream preview on my laptop.
Oh, you know what? I think it was giving me what I wanted the whole time.
Is it,
Okay.
is it hiding?
No, it's
There you
fine.
go. Cool.
Okay,
To do
let's
that.
do Saber. Darth Vader is fine here. Okay, cool. That should be all we need for Palpatine. He's looking spooky. We're gonna put him inside. For some reason, my frame rate dropped a little bit there for a second. Hopefully it's okay on the stream. Point him at the door. Okay, so we want to, there's going to be spawn on enabled. I'm going to turn that off because he's enabled at the beginning. We're going to go to spawn. We're going to add a function there. The owner of the function event will be the volume, and we'll just set it to on enter. That kind of makes sense. Hopefully that's fairly clear. I'm not sure why you just closed, but okay. So what should happen is when I run into the open door of the sandcrawler, Palpatine will spawn and probably kill me, which should be totally fine. Okay, we'll push these changes.
One sanity check for Palpatine, because I always make this mistake myself, is he's on the opposite team, right? He's not your buddy.
I don't think so. We'll find out. I'm pretty sure I set him to team 2.
Great. Cool. I always do that, and then I'm like, why are you not fucking me?
Only it were so easy to convert the real Palpatine.
Vicky or Aiden, once this is done, do one of you want to walk me through the hero device?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I saw a question. My screen flashes bright. I'm looking at questions, by the way.
It's a good question.
Yeah, so there was a question about is it possible to use the vehicles with control rigs? You know, do you know what a good explanation of the difference between some of the cinematic vehicles and the control rig is? You could highlight some of those.
Yeah, so there is one vehicle that is controllable with control rig, and that is the AT-AT. We have provided the control rig version. For a lot of the other vehicles, there just wasn't time to get to set up the whole control rig. It's pretty intensive on the dev side. We really felt strongly about providing the AT-AT because it's, you know, you need to move it around for it to be cool. And it doesn't really lend itself. I'm sure that there are people that would be delighted to go through. I'm going to get killed all. Hello. Manually animate with a level sequence the way I've demonstrated here, but it's a lot easier to have animations. Look, he's already spawned in there. I must have screwed something up on the setup.
Okay, the moment is still there. He still looks very scary.
He does, yeah. All right. Let's see if we can figure it out. It's probably not too difficult. Probably spawn on timer. Not sure about infinite spawn. That'd be my guess. I'm a little bit out of my depth here, you know, full disclosure on the working with the NPCs clearly. But anyway, we'll try one more time, and if this doesn't work, we can kind of move on to the next thing. Unless there are more questions that are relevant to this demo, in which case I'm happy to hang around here.
Yeah, we are getting quite a few questions. A lot of them are pretty general, so we'll save most of those for the end. But this is a friendly reminder for anybody who is watching this live to put in brackets question in caps followed by your question, and we will gather them up and do our best to answer as many of them as we can towards the end of the show. Remember to keep them as relevant to the tools as possible, because that's what we're here to talk about. And yeah.
Isaac, I would check that you have spawn on enabled.
Disabled, right?
Is it? Oh, okay. Sorry, it's really tiny on my little screen.
Yeah,
so
I did.
can't quite see.
Yeah, I did turn off spawn on and spawn on enabled.
Oh, see. Okay, it depends how you set it up actually, because I usually do it the opposite way around, where I'll have it start disabled and then I'll enable it and then it will
Yeah.
spawn in. But
Probably safer for it to just be off at the default.
yeah.
It really sells the scale of that vehicle
Yeah,
when you're,
it is
when you're
awesome.
looking up at it. Like, that thing is massive. So cool.
And there's a prefab of this thing fully decked out with a full interior and lots of stuff around it. I just grabbed the sort of the vehicle. I probably should have grabbed the prefab though. Well, while this is going, oh, there we go. I think we're good. Let's see. Okay. Yay, no Palpatine.
Moment of truth.
Lol. All right.
Oh no.
Perils of a live demo.
Yes.
There's probably a toggle somewhere that I missed. I apologize. But I do want to show you the hero device. I'm fairly confident we can we get effective demo there.
That's a good
Especially
example of just what often happens in development, where it really is just usually a small little oversight that just slipped through the cracks. Sometimes just because you didn't know where to look. Oftentimes for me is you get so used to doing it that you just forget you didn't. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just something in here that is incorrectly configured. All right. What is the best way to go about, let's say if I wanted the player to be Rey.
You want the player to be Rey?
Yeah.
So I would head over to Fortnite and then devices. It's actually in the main folder just here, rather than in the Star Wars content. And if you search for the hero device, you can drag that in, and you'll be able to choose who you want the player to be. We've got a few at the moment, just 6 right now. We tried to have a good balance here across different eras and genders and like light side, dark side. We wanted to put so many in. We had 6 to play with, and these were the 6 that we chose to represent different balances here. And if you choose who you want, you'll be able to apply the transformation to the instigator. And perhaps if you want to do this when the player spawns, I'd use the eyedropper tool to select that from that user option function there, and just have that happen on spawn. And so when the player spawns in, they will be Rey, and they will look like Rey, and they'll have all of Rey's cool abilities.
Would this be the drop down here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
And this can be done with live edit. You don't need to push changes. You should just be able to start and stop the minigame.
All right.
You should check that.
And
I was going to
do
say.
you need to attach it to a trigger if you didn't do that?
Oh, well, we've got it on spawn.
We've got it on
On spawn, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, which is my favorite way to do it because it's just really clear. Yeah, I think Rey was our favorite in playtests. We were always arguing over who got to be her. Against all the others, she's just got a really nice balance.
Hey, look at that.
Hey.
Yeah, she's
Awesome.
great.
Cool. That's awesome. And it couldn't be easier, right?
It couldn't be. Well, and that, I want you to, if you could showcase just running around a little bit. It might be hard to see because you're just playing as Rey, but Rey is physically faster than other characters to represent kind of her accelerated athleticism and her natural skill. And this is something that we can do now with the hero device to really play with making these heroes feel special and magical, is we can actually change core features like that. So Rey's faster. I think she jumps higher. Maybe she doesn't jump higher, but she's faster. She has, oh, jeez. She could destroy entire vehicles
Yeah.
That's right,
with
yeah,
her
she's-
mind.
She's our favorite.
Right. So these are things we can do here, and if you were to swap to Chewbacca, for example, Chewbacca has his own unique ability now. He's got the Wookiee war cry, which stuns nearby allies. So we can use the hero device to play with this expression for how the heroes feel and how they can be unique. And what I really like about them, and I've been touting this as like a big benefit to creators, is that the hero right now is locked. So that makes it harder to customize, but it also gives a familiar play experience to all the players. When a player looks forward to unlocking Chewbacca to play as Chewbacca, they know what items he'll have. They'll know how to play as him. They'll know how to wield all his skills and his toys and his tool set. And same is true for all the other heroes. Rey, Palpatine, Vader, Mandalorian. Right. This is going to be familiar for players across all the islands. So you can add a little bit of consistency because you're making whatever story you want. Right. It can be hard to get some of that consistency, but enabling heroes lets you have that consistent experience across the entire ecosystem, which I think is just going to be huge for making Star Wars just feel so powerful and so familiar to everyone playing it.
And I know we just talked about it a second ago, but I just love how simple that was, like how easy and quick that was to set up. And then change, just simply swapping them out, press and play.
Yeah, cool. It's fun.
It's awesome.
Okay. I kind of want to just jump over to my little demo of the canyon, just to sort of show you a slightly more complex example. Before I do, are there any final questions on this? I'm going to leave this up if we need to come back, but all good?
I think we're good.
Cool. Let's see. So here is that. So I just built a very simple canyon. This is just there's like a whole library. Well, it's not going to actually really. Maybe it will. I need to go to the something that's worth pointing out is some of the environment content. In fact, most of the environment content is available broadly across all Fortnite projects. So you can actually access this. Might take me a second to remember where it lives, but perhaps an environment, landscape, mesh, probably not there. Oh, where do we put it? Too bad I can't just go find it this way. We can do this. That's a lot. There we go. These are the actual ones. Oh yeah, FNEC biome. Okay. So it's going to be in galleries, nature, and then desert biome, nature gallery. We've also got, I think if we just do a search for biome, you can see this is where the snow-covered darker rocks are and the volcanic rocks as well. So if you want to work in one of the existing starter islands, this is where that content lives. So anyway, you just kind of cram those bunch together, a bunch of those together. I'm going to open up my sequencer. So I have a camera rail for each vehicle and the camera. The camera is paying attention to the Razor Crest as the actor to track. So it's kind of always watching where that's going. There are a couple of like the kick up of the dust, like as we fly over, where is it? Like this little guy right there. There's going to be that little, maybe it's hard to see, right? But as we're flying past, little details like that. But the most interesting thing about this setup is this Niagara system called Nebula Collection Shooting, where you can just trigger it. And what it does is it fires a projectile, and you can change the color from red to green based on who's shooting. And then as soon as the projectile detects a collision, it will spawn an explosion. So that's like a one-shot deal. You don't have to individually manage all of those elements, which would otherwise make setting something like this up very, very time consuming. I can just say, I'm going to parent this Niagara system to the TIE fighter, and then I'll just trigger it whenever I want. So let's see, here's the other one. And you can see over here in the outliner, when you attach, let's just see, it's got this attachment track. When you attach it, it essentially just makes it a child of the parent object. And so whatever the parent object does, like the other one will just kind of follow along. So setting up this kind of thing is really, really simple. Adding the VFX is very, very simple. You just drop it in, attach it, and then either do an activate, deactivate, or a trigger. Um, the other thing that's probably worth mentioning here is you may notice that uh, the engines here on the back of the Razor Crest are functional. So that's the setup is a little bit different depending on what the vehicle is. In some cases, it's a material instance on one of the elements of the ship. Like in the example is the X-Wing. I can show you that in a second. And the idea was it's a piece of geometry. It's like a little disc or whatever, some little shape that kind of matches. Like with the Millennium Falcon, it's like a whatever hemisphere of little squares. So if it was something like with the wings of the X-Wing, they animate. So I thought it would be easier to just add the element directly to the engine so that you've only got one thing to animate. And in some cases, it's going to be a separate mesh. So you would be able to go to the, let me just show you quick. Let me show you what I am talking about. So in the Millennium Falcon, I'm just going to go to the details panel here. There's a separate standalone mesh called thrusters. There is a material instance on the thrusters that has opacity and emissive, and you can dial both of those in. And then on the X-Wing, if you go to the wing, there's going to be a second material instance for the thrusters, right? So this kind of makes sense. All of these vehicles, well, any vehicle that has an engine has a thruster that you can access. And in some cases, there's actually this little fire thing too, which has got some bells and whistles. Let me slow my camera down. Here's the Niagara component. And so on the details there, you can control the size of it. Well, maybe not that big. But the throttle is kind of a useful, you can see the change there happening, right? So this system, in fact, all of these VFX, these are within the Star Wars toolset over here in VFX. So we've got the vehicles, that's going to be the thruster, the X-Wing thruster, and then for the weapons, there's a variety of different weapons in here that you can access. Not all of them have the explodey bits. That's going to be this one here, projectile shooter. So, but if you just want the muzzle flash, or you just want to have a projectile or something, there's a photon in here, I think. Photon torpedo, proton torpedo. Is photon torpedo the other IP? Who knows? Okay. So that's the full rundown on cinematic vehicles. There's not much more to it than that. It's pretty easy. It's super powerful. It's tons of fun to play with. Before we move on to the next topic, which is going to be a discussion around how we built the large landscapes for the starter islands.
Let me take a quick look here. I think we're good.
Cool. Okay. This is going to be a little bit of a different topic.
Perfect.
Can I say, Isaac, I really
yes.
appreciate being able to get into the weeds on how to do all this stuff. We add in these incredibly powerful, sometimes we call them tools, content, assets, right? And cinematics and the cinematic vehicles are really like a combination of all of those things all at once, and they can be daunting at first, but seeing you break them down, I think it just really helps visualize how to use them and just make really cool stuff. So I really just want to say appreciate that you were able to dive in with us and show everyone just how powerful all this stuff really is.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So everything I'm going to discuss here is covered in detail on this Epic Developer Community webpage. So in a nutshell, what we're doing is we wanted to create as large a landscape as we possibly could, because you can fly around and you can look down, and we needed to hit a bigger scale for this project. We wanted to kind of push the boundaries of that, the sort of the default island idea. But we also have some fairly significant limitations in terms of the memory that we can commit to the environment, because we've got to make space for the gameplay. So where we landed is we use Gaia, which is a procedural world building tool. I'll show you the the breakdown for this particular map here. The landscape itself, which you can see highlighted in the middle here, that is a landscape actor. It's sculptable. You can paint on it. You can do whatever you want. It is actually a 1K landscape that we scaled up to 2K. So this geometry beyond that 2K landscape, 1K/2K landscape, that's a piece of mesh. So the trick was, and what this tutorial is essentially covering, is how can you, as closely as possible, align the mesh with the landscape, right? So we're going to create a 4K map in Gaia. We're going to export that 4K map out as a piece of geometry. We're going to punch the middle out with a Maya script, which is available. And then we're going to take the height map. We're going to essentially crop it down to the middle. And then we're going to take that and scale it from 2K to 1K. So it's a bit of juggling there, but it's not that big of a deal once you run through and once or twice. Okay, so let's start with Gaia. I'm just gonna scoot it over here. So here is Hoth. I'm gonna drop this down so it updates a little bit more quickly. Come on. Oh, it's got some weird display. Go back to, okay. I think I've hit a little issue with my rendering. I'm gonna need to restart this. 1 second.
No worries.
You mind cutting my feed for a second?
Yeah. In the meantime, if you have any questions that we can answer. A lot of really cool general questions here. And that can be saved for later. What was some of your favorite experiences with working on these tools? Good challenges, fun, happy accidents, things like that.
I think for me,
Yeah, you had hers.
Sure, sorry. We've got a bit of a delay here. I think for me it was probably the first time we got to fly the vehicles around. We had also just got the first biome together, which was Tatooine, I believe. And we all got in a load of the starfighters and started flying around, and it was sort of that really magical moment. The first one that really made us feel like, oh yeah, we're building a Star Wars toolkit, and it really feels like something out of the movies. We're all just like flying around shooting each other, and it was just so much fun. That day just really strikes me when I look back on the development, where we're like, we really want this to be good, and like, is it going to be good? And that was the first day that I was like, yeah, this is going to be awesome, and I'm really excited to see it through.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing in all projects, is just when things finally click very early on, right? You're in a lot of iterative phases. There's a lot of R&D. Things might not be coming together immediately. That's very, very normal for these sorts of things. And you get that one moment where it's like, oh, here we go. We did it. This is awesome. This is fun.
There was we were developing the lightsabers and force powers, which uses the new itemization feature. We didn't exactly know what would work and what wouldn't work out of the box. So I was running around a test map, and I was like, what happens if I add all the force powers to my inventory while I'm holding the lightsaber? And so I started to block and then use the force power, and it used one of them, and I just kept using every single one in a row, and it just magically worked. It like knew one was on cooldown and moved to the next one, so I was able to become a Jedi Master, and none of us thought that would work. So just seeing it automatically function was very exciting, that I could do a force push and a force throw and a force lightning and everything just kind of in a row. It was just exhilarating to see the tool set come together. And that one was was automatic because we were using the brand new itemization feature that the team, everyone at Epic's been building and trying to get done. It's so exciting.
Yeah, that's super cool.
You can share my screen again.
Okay, great.
For me, it was getting to rub my face on the existing library of Star Wars vehicles. Like just really get in and marvel at the detail and the craftsmanship. The work is just really high quality, and as a fan, it's fun to just be able to walk up and look at it. Close as you
Yeah,
get to the real thing.
I think the first couple hours when I jump into this is just going to be me not being productive at all and just looking at everything in
Yeah.
every way possible.
Yeah, there's lots to look at. Okay, so this is Gaia, and the starting point is actually a grayscale image in Photoshop. So this is just something that we are able to hand paint. And the way it works is that the darker values go down and lighter values kind of go up. And so you can get, like, we had an idea. We understood that this is our landscape. This is the primary area where we're going to have most of the action. So we want to have the ability to have the most control in the middle. And it's hard to land on something specific when you're fully procedural. So this is like kind of a starting point. And within Gaia, where are we? Right. So this is what it looks like. It's very crude. It's really sensitive to the changes in pixel values. So the first node that I run is a blur, and then this was just a bunch of kind of experimentation to find something that I thought was cool. Right. Zoom out a little bit. Whoa. Couple of erosions. One of them is going one direction and one of them is going the other direction. And to combine them, you get something where you get more of a bowl. And then we've got a few more nodes, Hilify, bulbous, and a little slope blur, which to my delight really kind of read as like a kind of mounded snow. So I thought that was pretty effective. And then at that point, we're going to export the geometry. I think we might have set this to 512 pixels. I can't remember. In the document, there's like an A/B of what 256 versus 512 looks like. The material that we apply is a landscape material, and it's paying attention to the, like, whatever what's the right word? Like the vertical change from one pixel to the next. And then if it's beyond a certain limit, it'll kind of procedurally lerp in the cliff. Otherwise, it'll stick to snow or sand or whatever happens to be. So that's really the only thing you got to change here. I guess FBX, kilometer, and quads. Again, this is all documented, so you don't have to. If somebody's like furiously writing it down, don't worry about it. And then there's an Unreal node, and it's just going to go ahead and kick it out at 4033 because that's what I've got my export setting to. So if I come over to build, there's one really, really important setting. You click on this little blue square here, and we're going to go to terrain. This has to be set to 4032 so that the geometry and the landscape objects line up. Okay. I'm going to hop back over here. We're going to make a new level. I'm going to save this. Save current level. You got to save it before you can do any saving of the landscape or changing of the values. So we'll just call this one. Whoa.
It's always good to periodically save as well.
Indeed. So in Photoshop, this is what the height map looks like at 4K. Again, we really only care about, I got to zoom out because we changed resolution. I really only care about this inside part for the height map. That's what's going to inform our landscape. But this is a 4K image because we exported it 4K. So now I have to chop the middle out and then shrink it down to 1K so that it will work on a 1K landscape. If you try to apply a 2K, it'll automatically scale up the landscape because kind of the way it works is like each pixel of the height map corresponds to like one vert on the landscape. So it's got to be 1-to-1. And the reason that I can't export this at 2K and then mesh at 4K is the simulation is significantly different. You'll get a very different result between 2K and 4K. So you just do the whole thing at 4K to get it nice and consistent. This is what the final cropped height map looks like. All right. Wrong menu. Okay, so we're going to just go and kind of get rid of the default stuff here. Get rid of the water. Going to add a landscape. So I'm going to ask you to turn off my screen for just a second because I'm not sure what's going to pop up when I do the file search. Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
Okay,
Simply
you can show it again.
importing a file at the time. There we go.
Yeah. All right. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so all I did is I just went to import from file and then height map file. And now you'll see it'll automatically create a resolution of 1009 by 1009, which is the size of our exported height map. Okay, fit, but we don't have to do that. We'll hit import. So this landscape object now, we have to scale it up 200% in length and width, not in height. So once it's finished loading in here, I'm going to go to the top landscape object, 200 there. And you can see it automatically will do both of them at the same time. All right, so that's how to get the landscape imported. Let's take a look at Maya. So this is what that mesh is going to look like directly out of Gaia, right? Just a big plane of squares. That's sort of what we totally wanted. So I need to basically punch out the middle to make space for our landscape. So there is a script. It's available on the bottom of the website. It's Python. It will only run in Maya. So if you don't have Maya, you may have to, manually delete or trial and error, figure it out, so that's not that big of a deal. But what this is going to do is it's going to chop out those middle faces, and it is going to put the pivot in one of the corners. And this pivot will make it easy to align with the landscape because the landscape's pivot is also in one of those corners. All right, so this has already been exported. Let's go back over here. Got too many windows open. I'm going to ask you to kill my screen for one more second.
No worries.
All right.
And again, we are just importing the file at this moment.
All right, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So here's what that mesh looks like. I'm going to drop it in. And I need to, once it's available, I got to hop out of a landscape, go into selection. So I need to set the scale to 1000 in X, Y, and Z. I'm just going to actually, oh, whatever. If I had hit the lock icon, it would have done this for me automatically. All right. Grab the landscape. I'm going to copy the location, and we'll just paste the location to our mesh. At this point, it's really easy to scoot it up. But what we want is for our main play space to kind of be as close to 0 in terms of height as possible. It can even go a little bit higher, but we don't really want to be below 0. So to make that easy to find, I'm going to add a sphere. I'm going to set the sphere at the origin. I'm going to set the scale up a bit so it's easy to find. Then I'm going to select the top landscape actor and the mesh. And we'll just kind of scoot this. Right. Okay. So that's probably fine, right? Doesn't be perfect. But if you go too far down, also it gets real foggy, right? So you kind of want to make sure that your your play space is in a reasonable spot. Okay, now we got to look at the material. For the material, we're going to head back to the main Fortnite folder. It's in materials, landscape, material instances. So some of these are going to be for like distant mountains and volcanoes, and some of them are going to be for the landscape. And you can sort of see if it says the word landscape, that's probably a pretty safe start. There's a reasonably good reason to make an instance of this, but it's not super necessary. Hopefully, we've made a little change here. I'll show you in a second. But I'm going to right click on this one and create a material instance. Whatever it wants to name it in this case is fine. We're going to go back up to the top, back to demo. Lol, where'd it go? That again. Normally it just sticks it at the top somewhere and I don't have to look too hard for it, but try that one more time. Create material instance. This time I will put it in Cinemax. Demo's fine. All right. So there's our material instance. So this mesh is automatically has nanite applied to it. If the hardware can handle nanite, it's gonna put nanite on there. The material, the master material has been updated to automatically work with nanite, but what is currently live on UEFN doesn't have the flag enabled. So you've got to create an instance so that you can update it. It's very simple. We're going to open it up. I'm going to do a search for flag, and then we'll just scroll down to nanite and turn it on. That's all you got to do. Again, in a future release in the relatively near term, that will not be necessary. But if you want to tweak any of the settings, then I'll kind of show you what just a couple simple things. You're going to need to make a material instance of it anyway, so no big deal. All right, let's grab our landscape. Scroll down to the material section, drag and drop. And then for this mesh, let's see, where's our material? Get rid of this guy. And then, yeah, just drop some AT-ATs in there and you're good to go. Maybe an ion cannon. Rock and roll. So the boundary is not perfect. You can certainly get it closer than I've got it here. Here's our corner, right? So you sort of want the mesh to be below the landscape so you don't see a line in it. But you may need to, one of the things that I for some reason, I think it may be because I was using a source input image that I was creating in Photoshop that had some middle gray values that like the scaling required, it's pretty close to where it would need to be. It's pretty close. But in other cases, the scaling is a little bit bigger. And I think it's because I was using well, I wasn't starting from an image. So it started kind of at 0 and then it went up from that. So some of the values are very dark. If you're not familiar with Gaia, don't worry about it. But it's a simple matter of scaling the mesh in up, Y in this case, so that it's as close as possible. And then you just kind of have to cover it. If there's any gaps, you can cover it with rocks or boulders or any other thing like that. But that's the idea. It's pretty simple. It's very powerful. It would take a long time to sculpt all this. And again, you would, I don't know how you would go about creating this, sort of distant landscape with any other approach. I think it would be a lot of work. But this is pretty straightforward. Are there any questions about any of this stuff?
I don't see anything specific to this, which is always my indicator that you nailed it.
Cool. Again, let me just show you guys where that code is. If you scroll to the bottom, again, this is all the, I think this is the AB between 256 and 512. You see how much more information is there. And in our testing, it didn't really make that much difference if the mesh was cut up into smaller pieces so that some of them could be culled when you were looking away. Like it just didn't really matter. If you're, if your frame rate's not great and you feel like that would help, feel free. There's probably scenarios where it would make sense to do that. All right, so down at the very bottom, yeah, here's the code. So you can just copy it, paste it into your script editor in Maya, select your geometry, and that's all you got to do.
And we did go ahead and post that the link to this document in the chat for you folks. Anybody who is watching the VOD version of this, check the description. It should be there.
Cool.
Perfect.
I can show like a couple small tweaks if you want on the landscape side, working with the material.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, if we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So I open it up. I just grabbed a few values because it's a bit snow covered, and I kind of wanted to break that up a little bit. So the snow is layered automatically on top of the cliff based on the vertical angle of the geometry, but you can tweak that stuff. So if you go, here's the cliff section of the material instance. I'm going to go to the cliff controls area, and then I wrote some values down here. So for the top layer, set this to, well, I could just kind of scrub around. We can see what it does. We zoom in on the rocks. So this is going to be like that dusting, the dusting of the snow. It works the same with the sand. There's not really a good analog on the volcano material, but something similar, right? Okay, so there's that one, and then we have the angle bias, which increases or decreases the sensitivity to the top surface, and then the angle offset. This one will reduce or increase the sensitivity to the angle, like the actual angle of the geometry, not the normals. The first one was looking more at the normals. And then for the threshold, something kind of similar. But it is respecting the height data of the rock. The snow is kind of blending into the cracks first. And with any of the other material instances, you'll get that behavior where it's sort of layered up. So in the desert biome, the sand will kind of go between the cracks of the mud and that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. But this obviously there's like a ton of stuff here, and experimentation is probably going to be the quickest route to figuring out how to get the results that you're looking for. And as far as all the layers go, the parameters are consistent. So if you can get your head around one of them, you can probably figure the rest of them out without too much trouble. Cool.
Great. Awesome. Do we have anything else that we wanted to demo while we have this up?
Not on my end.
Perfect. I did see a question here. I think I did also see a note, I believe. Oh, we already covered that one. Never mind. We're great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for going through and demoing that all for us. There's so many things there that are so cool. I cannot wait to get into this and play around. I know what I'm doing this weekend because this looks really cool and super easy. That's the takeaway that I keep getting from watching these presentations and these sorts of demos is that it doesn't take a lot to get in and get something up and running. Like obviously you can polish it forever. You can add a bunch of features and things like that. There's ways to, expand this quite significantly, but getting in and hitting the ground running is fairly simple, fairly quick, and you can have something up and running. I mean, this was a demo, right? We had some of this prepared, but we covered many things in about 60, 90 minutes. That's awesome. That's super cool. And it's one of my favorite things about this. Awesome. Well, if you folks are up for it, we have been gathering a bunch of questions. So if you're up for it, we can go ahead and start going through those and start with, will there be an option for ships to carry multiple people like in a galactic battle?
So I don't know, I guess I can jump into this one. I don't know that we have necessarily a carrier ship right now, but we do have some of those meshes available. So you might be able to do something with some of the cinematic stuff that Isaac's been showing earlier, to sort of fake the players and into thinking that that is what's going on. Like you can have them go up to that vehicle, you can trigger a cutscene that shows the players from moving from one place to another, maybe animating that ship, and then teleport them to the location that they're going to be. So they kind of get that experience like they're being carried by the ship, but they're not actually, if that makes sense. If in cases where we're not quite offering exactly what you want, try and think like outside the box, I guess, and maybe try and draw on some of the cinematic advice Isaac's given you today.
We do have a LAAT, which is like the Republic troop transport, and the door does open.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you could put anybody inside of it and fly it around.
You could work a lot of magic with the chair device.
Yeah. Oh,
That's all
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is it possible to use multiple world time of day managers in one project, such as using the DSA binary suns and the DSA space?
I don't think that it is, unfortunately. I think you're kind of locked to one. But you could create a star field and then just put it on a plane outside the window, right? Like if that's the idea is you're traveling through space and then you land at the your destination, which would obviously in this case I guess be Tatooine, that you could work your way around it a little bit.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many just games in general do something very similar, right? Where they exist in a single world, but then they put on the windows some sort of material effects and things like that to give the illusion of traveling through space or whatever it is that you're doing, going through a time wormhole or anything like that. Can the static?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that's something we do and have always done in video games like way back. That's not just a UEFN trick. That's just a general video games trick that I've definitely used exactly that thing in the past.
Yeah, very common. Very common. Can the static props take damage?
The building props can, and I think you can clearly force push the sandcrawler. So yeah, I do think they are set up to take damage. But yeah, I don't know for sure. I don't know how consistent that is.
Right. Give me 1 second here.
I will say that the drivable vehicles absolutely take damage, and that includes 2 turrets as well.
Google thought this was the perfect time to sign me out of my doc. Sorry about that. Next question we have is, will there be a way to stop props from being destroyed or affected by the force push power?
So this is something we're looking into right now. We kind of saw it live on the stream today. So obviously we have a clear repro for that. But yeah, we will be looking at this. I don't know if there is a way to do that just now. I know that obviously there's the is destructible checkbox that you can use on certain types of props, but if it's not working for all of them, as we're seeing today, we're looking into it.
Perfect. Can you teach us how to make the lightsaber workbench?
There was very good documentation about the lightsabers workbench template project. I would encourage you to thumb through it. And if this is a VOD, I'm going to ask that people add that to the description so you can find it there. It is very good.
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. But also just to say, yeah, the documentation for that is really in-depth and really good. If you just want to dive into the verse code though, it's also really well commented. And it shows you what each section, is doing. And I'm not much of a coder, but to read through it and be able to read through the comments to sort of follow along what is going on there is always really helpful for me to understand it. And then my next step after trying to piece it together is always like just go and change something and see what your change did, and see if you can just try and change something fundamental about the architecture of it. Is always the best way for me to learn any coding language, but especially Verse.
Yeah, nothing to me is more underappreciated than good comments and code. It's so helpful, especially if you're working with team where you're passing code around because some folks will code slightly different than others. I believe we covered this a little bit, but maybe we can elaborate on it a little bit more. Is how do you spawn in the NPCs?
I can go back over that again too. So when you're in so Isaac was showing one way to do it where you make the spawner and then you create a thing from there. But if you're just in your project space, you can right click and you can just type in AI and it will actually pop up a little NPC character definition. And from there you can fill it out and then all you have to do is drag that character definition into the map and it'll make an NPC for you. There's a lot more stuff you can do from there, but that is the basic outline of how to make a character definition. Similarly, the tauntaun can be made that way as well. If you set it to to wildlife and you switch it to the tauntaun, you can make a tauntaun.
Awesome, awesome. Will we get drag and drop support for the custom inventory used for lightsabers?
I'll need to follow up on that.
Perfect.
I believe it is part of this feature set for itemization, but I don't know when it will be released.
It is at least on the radar. Can you create your own models, excuse me, to use in your Star Wars map? Can you import creatures to use as NPCs and fit them within the developer rules?
Yeah, 100 yes, as long as you're fitting them within the brand rules for the Star Wars brand rules. But we do encourage you to make your own models and your own creatures and your own things, especially that are fresh out of your imagination, or you think might fit into an environment where it makes sense. Just make sure you're also following the brand rules and not trying to import any assets from other places that you don't own, haven't created, or copies of other things that already exist. But yeah, please make your own creatures, your own monsters, your own whatever you want, and import those models.
Perfect, perfect. Will more heroes be added to the hero device over time?
So this was a question that I did answer in the Discord. By the time we come out of publishing hold for Star Wars, we were not planning to add any more heroes. We do plan on looking into adding heroes to the generic environment, so non-Star Wars heroes. No, we can't share a release date on that, but we will at least be adding more heroes in that environment at some point in the future.
Awesome. Will it be possible to add force powers to the guard device?
Yeah,
Or is it possible?
It's not possible currently, which is a bit of a shame. It's something we're looking at. I've definitely seen this request come up a few times, and I do think it would be really cool. If we had Palpatine in that demo and been able to have him do his Force lightning or something, that would have been awesome. But I don't think there's a way to do that just now. But yeah, we are aware of the request, and we're looking at it.
I'm not sure it's lore accurate. Can you imagine episode 4 if they got captured and then all of a sudden the stormtroopers were firing off force push at them? I don't know. Would have been a different movie.
That's true, actually. And sometimes we do have to kind of think about that sort of thing when we're working with IPs. But I don't know. If you could put it on some sort of Sith, yeah, it would be cool. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. We'll see.
Perfect. Are there any plans to allow creators to publish Star Wars maps as unlisted before May 1st? We would love to use this feature to scale our playtesting.
Not at this time, although I will push for this in the future. I think it's an exciting feature.
Great. Is there a way I can edit the value such as speed with the vehicles? My game's design sort of depends on that.
Currently, no. You can adjust the fuel access and I believe the boost, which can kind of affect the speed, but that is something that we have been discussing internally and cannot share any kind of date on that right now.
Great. Will the force abilities be fixed in near updates? They are a bit broken and we can't add them.
If you are in the Discord channel, please make a feedback request with how they are broken so that we can go and fix them and make sure that they are not. I know that we have already identified a few issues with a few of them, and we've already put those into the next release. So maybe we fixed your issue already. So please post that, maybe with some videos, and we'll try our best there.
Awesome. Can we design our own custom planets that has a similar deal to other known Star Wars planets, however, don't use the same name? Will that be part of the violation IP infringement?
We're talking about landscape biomes are on the surface or planets that we're seeing from afar. I don't think either one of those is an issue. I'll defer on the planet from afar.
Yeah, so I'll talk to this a little bit. You can definitely make your own planets. That's totally encouraged. You can also broach existing planets. Just I would encourage you to use the back on the farm method I was talking about, where maybe you're showing some other key event or some other experience there that's telling your own story and making it your own moment. This tool set's all about telling your version of Star Wars, how you see it or how you want it to happen. So make sure you're just emphasizing those things and making it unique to you and to your experience.
Great. We are missing rarities for the E11 and DC-15 blaster rifles. Will we get these soon?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on the Discord. We were having a look at that internally. It's logged.
Awesome. Will the flight controls for the starfighters be adjusted? They've been bugged for as far back as the biplane device. When facing / going down or upside down, you lose control and your crosshairs offset.
This is another one of those. Please go to the Discord and post a video on the feedback channel, and that'll help us understand what to do here. We'll get a repro and we'll look into fixing it.
Perfect. Will there be more advanced versions of the lightsabers? Right now, they're a little clunky and a little slow, and you're at a disadvantage when using them. Something like Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Fallen Order lightsabers, please.
We don't have any plans for any more lightsaber stuff right now, but I would encourage you that if they feel clunky, please start using Scene Graph, and you can give your character Force Pull to pull enemies towards you, or you can use Force Shield, and you can have a lot of fun playing with the powers. You can even build a system that detects how far an enemy away is, and then you can have it select a Force power automatically to use that. So you're just always doing the right thing at the moment to kind of give that true Jedi power feel.
Great. Great. Are we going to get interiors for any of the ships?
I don't believe so.
Could you kind of model an approximation of your own? This is to the room. Could you model an approximation of your own that's sort of not named, even if it were in something you'd use in a cinematic context? And that feels okay to me. We may not provide it, but maybe you can do something there.
Yes, I think that's completely doable and highly encouraged.
Yeah. Great.
Awesome. Another question here was, how come without the somatic camera, when you put down a prefab, it sometimes disappears? Do we know that one?
I have not seen that, but I'd be interested to take a look at it. Can that be added to a list of things to follow up on? So let me just make sure I get the repro right. So you're using a cinematic camera and a prefab, and for some reason the prefab is not rendering?
Yeah, it looks like when you put it down, the prefab disappears, according to
Which
the comment.
prefab?
Let's follow up in the Discord.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, well, that sounds weird. I want to know more. But yeah,
post it. I know.
Yeah,
They can't
yeah.
respond to us, right? So
Yeah,
please
fair
post
enough.
that in the Discord feedback channel with an example,
yeah.
and we'll take a look at it.
It could be a collision thing, but I definitely want to take a look at it.
Right. Another question here was, how come the ATST in the animated section? How come the ATST is in the animated section? Sorry, and can't be animated?
It is in the vehicle section. I don't, not that one. Again, it's kind of like, because the pieces are so complex that just to create an animation for it, the setup would be pretty significant, and a fairly clunky interface because it's a biped. Like I think it'd be much more user friendly as a control rig scenario. It's a valid request and a valid question for sure. It was kind of like in that middle ground of like the real solution is control rig, but we just didn't have time, so it kind of landed as a static asset.
Right. Next question is, why does the LAAT gunship body mesh have simple collision blocking access to the inside?
So that's a great question. One I'll be asking Isaac directly after this.
Yes, I will be interested to find out why that is the case. It should not be. I happen to know somebody took great pains to export the existing collision so that they didn't have to rebuild it from scratch. So I'm disappointed to learn that that's not the case.
Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes they happen. Another question here was, I'm a noob. Where do I find these tool sets? Is it in Fab?
The tools are not in Fab. To access the tools, install UEFN on Fortnite on PC. You must be on the Windows PC to use the tools. Then you will see that there is a template option, and you can find different brands in there. From within there, you'll need to sign up for the ICP, the creator program, to be able to use this, because you have to accept the brand rules to be able to work with the brands. But from there, you have access to the tools. They're all free to use, and you can play around with them and build whatever you want.
Aiden, was there a limitation on signing the ICP agreement for new users?
Yes, but I don't remember them immediately. But I will say that brand new Fortnite users are unable to join the ICP and must meet a few requirements in order to sign up.
Right, great. Another question here is, how do you give and trigger powers with the NPC/guards? I think we kind of alluded to this already.
Can't currently.
If I set environmental damage in island settings to off, would players still have an option to damage Enviro with a hero device?
They would not. You would need to go through your level and mark things as indestructible and the things you want to get destroyed. You'd have to work with there from there. On creative props, I believe can be damaged is a property you can modify in verse. So you could always make it so that when someone is a hero, they can damage things in specific ways.
Awesome. Awesome. Can more than one player become the same hero at the same time?
They cannot. And yeah, maybe that would be disappointing, but actually, from a brand perspective, it's sort of like protecting the integrity of that character. Like, there's only one Darth Vader, man. And if you had a map just full of Darth Vaders, like, he loses all of his clout, he loses all of his like iconic badassery. So that was something that we were keen to protect for Star Wars and make sure that their iconic characters are who they're supposed to be, sort of thing. That's different for our hero device. You'll notice that the disguise device I meant to say there, where you'll notice that the characters who we give you in that are often kind of unnamed characters, like someone that there may be quite a lot of them, like stormtroopers. You don't know who's behind the mask, so it's easy to kind of set up like large scale battle scenarios with them, and maybe Vader's at the helm with a whole load of stormtroopers, and you get to really embody that gameplay fantasy, I suppose, with like this one player as Darth Vader at the helm and his stormtroopers. So that's kind of the approach we went with there for sort of protecting the integrity of the character and the gameplay fantasy as well.
Awesome. Awesome. How do I make a level sequence relative? My shuttle keeps snapping back to the original world coordinates instead of staying where I placed it.
You should be able to do the preserve state option on the transform.
Perfect. Perfect. I got one more question here for you folks. Is there a way to fix how the builds and gold UI get pushed to the top corner of the screen when I apply the custom Star Wars UI?
We will ask our UI expert and see if we can find an answer for you.
Yeah, please pop a thread in the Discord and we'll follow up on that and see if we can help you with that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, I want to make a huge shout out and a huge thank you to all of our wonderful guests, excuse me, for coming on today and demoing these awesome tools and putting this all together to showcase these really cool features and tool sets to everyone here, especially Isaac. That was a lot of work, I'm sure. I really appreciate you putting it in and coming on here and showcasing this stuff for us. That is going to wrap up today's Creating in Fortnite. Again, a huge thank you to one of our guests for today, and a huge thank you to you all for watching as well. If any of you came into this stream partway through this and wanted to rewatch a section, no worries. We will post all of our streams in video format that can be viewed both on demand on our Twitch and YouTube channel. And again, a huge thank you to the guests. And we will see you all in the next Creating in Fortnite. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.